Hey guys, Michelle Martin with Ag on Wheels, and today we find ourselves in Holland, Texas with Aaron Martinka. Did I say that right?
That's right, that's right.
I got it on the first try. Miracles do happen. And today we're gonna talk all kinds of things, but primarily we're gonna talk about
Corn.
That's right, corn. But you do so much more than corn. Tell us a little bit about what you farm.
Yeah, here in Holland, Texas, I farm corn, cotton, wheat, some hay, got some cattle, do some pecans. Whatever needs to be done in the area, that's what we got to do.
You like to stay busy.
Always, year round, never stops around here.
And we're gonna be busy today because we're gonna be seeing all this, but primarily we're talking about corn. So stay tuned. So before we get corny and we go learn all about corn, I want to talk a little bit about how you got here and how you started farming and your family.
Well, I grew up in the area. My dad farmed while I was small. Through high school, was driving tractors and everything I could do, and went to college at Texas A&M.
Whoop.
Got an ag degree and graduated, and just wanted to come right back to where I left, and I did. I was successful in coming back. And farmed with my father and some family, and then in about 2010 decided to go out on my own. And today I farm with my two other partners, my brother and a cousin, so it's a family operation. And now I'm trying to teach the next generation, my children, what it is we do and how important it is.
So you're successful in coming back, you're starting to farm, and you're kind of prepping and setting the path for the future generations. Tell us about your kids and your wife.
Well, the most important part of the whole story is I'm successful in getting my wife to move here. She did not come from a farming background, so she learned very fast, and she would probably say she's still learning. So, the most important part of the story is my wife, Jennifer.
That's true love right there. Same with me. I swore I'd never move back home, and my husband convinced me to, and I didn't know a lick about farming either. Now look at me.
So now we have 3 kids. I have 2 daughters and 1 son, and they're really kind of starting to really learn things now. My son is very interested in what I do and wants to be part of it, so that's very encouraging and motivating to keep doing what I do. With farming, it's such an investment. Almost took a decade to kind of feel like, okay, I got started now, a whole decade. And, then you work another decade, and then you're kind of like, well, maybe we should retire, but we all know farmers don't retire, right?
Yeah, never, never.
So it's like, looking at the next generation is like, okay, this is a long-term goal. This is what we're doing. So
now I'm really interested in corn, and everyone loves corn because a lot of people grow corn. So let's go learn about Texas corn.
I'll show you.
Okay, let's go. I'm driving though. All right, Aaron, it's time to get corny. Let's get down to it and all the information that people at home want to know. What does your growing season and harvest season look like in this area?
Typically, we plant our corn in February. That could be early February, could be late February. Ideally, I like to be done planting by March 1st. We're always trying to beat the heat, the hot and dry weather. We know it's gonna come, no matter how soon does it come. So the sooner we can get the plant going, usually in June, it turns hot and dry, our crop is mostly done.
Hey, June's a good month. It's my birthday month.
Mine too.
Hey, high five. That's why we get along. So we talk about your season, but let's talk about the soil, because soil plays a huge part into growing a crop. What kind of soil are we dealing with here?
Most of the soil is a Houston black, heavy clay. When it gets wet, it's sticky. It's gonna stick to our boots. And then when it gets dry, it's gonna make huge cracks and you lose tools in the cracks. Our typical yield is usually an average of the extremes. Our dry years and our good years. But on average, I like to think of my typical yield about 135 bushels. If I can make that, I figure that's a win that year.
Anytime you can harvest a crop, it's a win. I'm here today to talk about corn, obviously, but something really special and unique that you're involved in is the Texas Corn Producers.
Yeah, I'm involved in the Texas Corn Producers Board.
Okay.
As on the board, which we're kind of a quasi-government agency, we manage the funds derived from the checkoff. So every time a bushel of corn is produced, 2 pennies come out of that bushel and get put into a fund. And it's our job, our responsibility to manage that money. Now, we have 3 guardrails that we are required to meet to spend those funds. Those can either be used on research, education, or promotion. You know, the research is doing the research of the soil, the plant, the disease. Education, we have an education program that we use to take information to elementary schools and teach the young children about agriculture, where their food comes from.
Yeah.
Who else is going to do that? Who else do we want to do that? And then the other one is the promotion. Try to drive our markets domestically and internationally.
So you're just a farmer here in Central Texas farming your corn, and now all of a sudden you're part of this association. What value did you find in it when there's so many organizations available to growers, and how did you hear about it?
Well, you know, after kind of a couple years of farming, I kind of thought about, you know, you start learning more, start to see all the things that are going on behind the scenes, so to speak, and, you know, just kind of became inquisitive. And then at one point in time, I got invited to a leadership program that the Texas Corn Association put on. And I said, well, it sounds like a fun weekend for my wife and I. Well, I guess we'll go. And after learning, it's like, wow, there's a lot that goes on. A lot of voices that need to be heard, and somebody needs to carry those voices. And found out that a lot of the producers across the state, we kind of have a lot of the same issues, and of course hear some of their anomalies, so that was always interesting, and kind of where we can take all of our voices and our opinions and our wants and our needs and bring them together in a room and talk about things and then go move forward with one consensus voice.
What was it that separated this organization from others?
You know, it was only until I got involved with the Texas Corn Producers Association to really realize and appreciate what goes on behind the scenes and how valuable those associations are. You know, I mean, they carry a lot of voices. It's a lot of different places. You know, as a farmer, most of the time I need to be right here on this dirt.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get away from this dirt too. But it's very important to, you know, maybe go to Austin. Somebody needs to go to DC, or there's very important work that gets done outside the field. And being a member of those associations, this association, the Corn Producers Association, you know, there's voices that do that.
All right, Aaron, we're gonna break it down for our viewers at home, and you're gonna be able to make it a lot simpler than if I were to explain it. What is the Texas Checkoff? Who pays for it? Where does the money go? And what does it do for farmers like you?
So any corn produced in the state of Texas, every time a bushel or a ton of silage is sold, there's a small fee that's checked off and put into account, and it's up to the board to manage those funds. And here in Texas, our Texas Department of Agriculture kind of monitors that and watches how those funds are spent, because there's only 3 ways that those can be spent. Remember, it's the research, the education, and the promotion. And, you know, what do we do, or what does that mean? Well, one of the ones that I always think about, it's very important, is when I got started farming, the biggest problem we had was aflatoxin. Corn acres were declining in our area because the aflatoxin was so bad. And I can tell you the predecessors at the time, the board members at that time, made it a priority to address the problem. So through that research fund, through that bucket, they researched aflatoxin and how to solve that problem. And they were kind of the only ones, because it was only kind of a Texas problem. So they were the ones really looking at that, the only ones looking at that problem. And in a matter of, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they found some solutions. And the solutions kept getting better. And today, through the course of using a product like For Sure, that those research dollars help develop and find and produce, it's a non-issue now.
And that's a process in itself, trying to develop a new product and getting it all passed. So it's great to have an organization like that that's developing these things to help the grower grow the best product they can and yield the best that they can, right?
Yeah, a lot of times, you know what, somebody may have a problem with their corn. And I say a problem, it may be agronomy, maybe the plant, or it may be some policy. Whenever I have a problem, I think about who's gonna help me solve the problem. Who can help me? Who knows more than I know? And if there's any problem about corn, there's people that can probably help solve that problem.
All right, so you guys at home, Aaron has now told you what the checkoff is, but there's a different part in its own little entity, which is the Texas Corn Producers Association. What is the association?
So the Texas Corn Producers Association is made up of just members. That can be producers who grow it, maybe people who have a vested interest in corn, like to see the industry move forward. It can even be students from college or high school can even be members.
Tell me one great thing that the Texas Corn Producer Association has done.
One thing that I think about right where we're at is a few years ago we were advocated pretty hard for feral hog control. And through that advocacy, we're able to get some funds to help with that problem. And we're in Hog Central over here, but I tell you what, in the last few years, because of the work we've done, it's not such a problem anymore.
I'm gonna be a teacher now, and we're gonna do a pop quiz, a summary of what we've learned today. Texas Corn Producers Checkoff and Texas Corn Producers Association. Give me a summary of each and how they work together for that one common goal.
So the Texas Corn Producers Checkoff goes to work on all the issues, whether it be agronomy or promotion of selling corn. Whereas the association, its work, if all those issues can be solved or need to be solved politically, it goes to work in Austin or in Washington.
The one thing that they really have in common is they're fighting for that one common goal, which is what?
The Texas producer.
To give them their voice back and to fight for them and help make their job easier, right?
I need a little easier work.
So do I. All right, now that we've distinguished the difference between the association and the checkoff, how has your view changed? Because you were once on the outside that knew nothing to now being very involved. How has that view changed?
That's right. I mean, I didn't distinguish between the two organizations. At that time, I thought, well, I'm paying a check off. I'm sure that does some good. It's going somewhere and doing some good. And it did. But now I realize all the work behind the scenes that gets done, all the board members throughout the state that put forth their time. I mean, hey, they're all busy like I am. We ain't got time. There's always stuff to do. I can look around and see work all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, we kind of just make it a priority to meet a few times a year and bring forth our problems and hopefully all find a solution.
And if you want to change, you got to be the change.
That's right. You got to change. Somebody's got to change it, so it might as well be you.
So once you're in there, you know, you're part of the association, you see the value of it now by being in the middle of it. You now are chairman?
That's right. I was on the board for probably 7-8 years, and chairmanship opened up, and my fellow farmers, board members, thought that I'd fit the role. You know, there's farmers in the room from South Texas, North Texas, the Panhandle. I farm in the middle, so I guess they thought I'd be a good fit.
With the markets constantly changing, the acreage of farmland shrinking, and the number of young farmers also shrinking, what kind of value and what do you do as a chairman to ensure that we continue to have our voice heard?
Well, you know, I've been on the board for about 10 years now. I was by far the youngest in the room, kind of wondering, what am I doing here? Well, through time that has changed a lot. Now I'm kind of more on the other side of that bell curve. And, you know, whenever we get a new board member in, they come, they listen to the first meeting, and the response is always the same. Wow, I didn't realize y'all did all this. And so I always think it's important to be an organization that matters and that can solve the problems and deal with the issues behind the scenes, and you may not even know about it even though you're a corn producer.
And I think the actions speak for themselves with everything that the association is doing, as well as the Texas Corn Producers and Checkoff that they do. And it's amazing how the two are separate, but they work together. And I think that that is a powerhouse.
Putting the best effort forward to move the Texas corn producer needs and wants where it needs to be.
And the association just takes it and then they run with it and make that touchdown, right?
That's right.
That's how they work together. Easiest way to put it. Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to allow me to drop by today and getting corny and learning all about your amazing looking corn, but more importantly, discussing the advocacy that you're doing for the corn industry through the checkoff and the association.
You bet. Anytime you want to come back, stop on by.
Where will I be next time? Only God knows. We'll see you guys. God bless.